Today on Sports Center, we're going to be going over our first Big Ten schedule preview of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Ohio State Buckeyes. This was a team that made it to the national semifinals last season. As you know, they went into the college football playoff where they played Clemson, and their season ended abruptly there. But overall, it was still a great year, and in this video, we're going to be going over a few players that this team will be returning, who they're going to be losing, and also we're going to be going over their schedule for the first time this offseason. So starting off with the games this team has had since November, they are 5-1 since November. They beat up Maryland on November 9th, 73-14. They also beat up Rutgers, 56-21. Had a close one, but it was still a win against Penn State, 20-17. They also blew out Michigan, 56-27. So rolling into the postseason, they were on fire. I think they were the number one team in the nation, and they were going into that Wisconsin game absolutely heated, and they beat Wisconsin 34-21. But as you know, that game was close for the majority of the game. Then on December 20th, they played Clemson in the college football playoff semifinal, and they led for a good chunk of that game, but they ended up losing it 23-29. So that was a very tough way for the season to end for Ohio State, but still, it was 13-1. That was their only loss of the season. They were 8-0 from September to October, obviously. And so, yeah, once again, it was a great season for Ohio State, and it should be an interesting one here. Here are some key points for Ohio State heading into this offseason. They returned their starting quarterback, Justin Fields. Of course, he had over 3,200 yards of passing this season, 41 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Having over 3,000 yards is very impressive, no doubt about it. And it's going to be huge for this Ohio State team to return him. However, they've got a lot of big losses besides J.K. Dobbins, which he's our next one. He had over 2,200 yards of rushing this season alone with 23 touchdowns. He's going to be a huge hit to this offense. And, of course, they're going to need a running back to step up, or else this Ohio State team is going to really struggle in the running back position. J.K. Dobbins was a huge part of this offense, no doubt. They returned their top wide receiver, Chris Olave, which had 840 yards. 12 touchdowns as well, so he's a big player, and it's going to be huge for Justin Fields, especially to be able to return his top wide receiver. They lose their second and third wide receivers, KJ Hill and also Benjamin Victor. Both these guys combined for just over 1,100 yards and 16 touchdowns. So they were both big parts of this team as well, but they do return their fourth wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, which he got some attention himself. He had just over 400 yards of offense and 5 touchdowns too. So, yeah, it'll be great to return Olave and Wilson. That'll be huge. I'm guessing those two wide receivers would probably be your top 2 wide receivers heading into this 2020 season, but of course, recruiting wise, they could have another wide receiver that will step up in that position, so I'm not really all that concerned about the wide receiver position in general. They lose 2 on the offensive line, 3 defensive linemen as well, so they do take a couple of bad hits on the offensive line, but the defensive line is what I'm really concerned about. This defensive line was a huge part of this team last season, and it's going to be tough to lose 3 of them. They lose a linebacker and 3 in the secondary as well, so they lose 7 starters on the defense. But once again, they're a great recruiting class coming in. I mean, this team is so great at recruiting, no doubt about it. They've always been in like the top 5, and they've always done such a great job. And so that eases the concern for me that Ohio State might have a bit of a down year. But the chances of another college football playoff run in 2020, I don't think they'll be as good in 2019 or in 2020 as they were in 2019. I think that this team is great. They've got a lot of talent, no doubt about it. But making another college football playoff run, or even making it to the college football playoff in general, back in next year in 2020, it's going to be really tough for this team to do that. They've got so many losses once again, especially with the defensive line. That really concerns me, especially in the defense in general. That really concerns me. Nonetheless, we're going to go over their schedule now for the first time this offseason. They start off the season against Bowling Green on September 5th at home. Should be an easier game there, but then you got a big showdown against Oregon on September 12th. That should make for an interesting game there, especially with it being a road game in Eugene. Next up, they play Buffalo. So that should be another easy win. And then you got Rutgers to start off conference play. Then it's on to Iowa to start off October, at Michigan State, at Penn State. Then the next couple weeks of October, then it's on, you play Nebraska at home as well as Indiana. Then you travel to Maryland and Illinois before finishing off the season against Michigan on November 28th. So here's kind of what I'm expecting here. I'm going to give Ohio State 4 guaranteed wins. I'm not going to project any losses for this team because there's really nothing out here that clearly points out as a loss to me. But I do expect them to be Bowling Green, Buffalo, Rutgers, and Maryland. Maryland's a road game, so I'm expecting them to beat 4 teams guaranteed. But your record estimation will be 9-3 to 11-1 for Ohio State. I think that this team, they've still got a lot of potential, no doubt about it. But I don't think that they're going to go undefeated once again in the regular season. I think Ohio State is great. Don't get me wrong. But once again, with all the losses and all the defensive losses, this will be a bit of a younger team next season. And if they do really well next season, watch out for the next couple of seasons. Like in 2021 or 2022, they could easily go on to win a national championship if this Ohio State team goes undefeated this season. Because once again, they're going to be a bit of a younger team next season, no doubt about it. So you got to watch out for that. But nonetheless, let me know your thoughts on Ohio State in the comments below. This is just an early preview once again, so of course we're just in mid-February. But once again, let me know your early thoughts on Ohio State. Let me know your record estimations or record predictions. Once again, though, Ohio State, once again, the main reason why I've got them going 9-3 to 11-1 once again is just because of the tough losses, J.K. Dobbins especially on the offense. So, but once again, thank you all for watching. Thanks for sticking around. If you want to watch more, if you want to see more from All Sports Central, be sure to show some support. Thank you all for watching. Though once again, stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I'll see you all later.